Here we go live. So welcome everyone to Meshery Development Meeting. Today is 24th of May. And with that, we'll be following our weekly Lay 5 tradition to welcome newcomers. So if you are a newcomer, join this call for the first time and haven't introduced yet, this is your chance. Unmute yourself and give a quick introduction. So do we have a newcomer today? Rafi, hi Rafi. Is this your first time joining this call?
Hi, no, this is not my first time.
Oh, all right. So I don't see anyone else in the meeting in the participants list who is new. So let's move it with today's item. And first of all, if you haven't started the Meshery repository yet, go and give it a star. Do share it with your friends and friends of friends to start the repository. I'll share the link of Meshery repository in chat. So do give it a star and show your love to Meshery project. So with that, we have on top of the list, today we have first topic by Raj Aryan. So Raj, would like to share your screen and give an update on this? We can't hear you properly, Raj. So I think you need to fix your audio issues.
Am I audible?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Am I audible?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, let me jump back in a few minutes. Okay, that's great.
All right. So we'll circle back to Raj. So let's move to the next item. That's from Senali. Add Meshery Cloud native catalog summary. So Senali would like to share screen. Senali, we can't hear you if you are speaking.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. My PR is regarding Docker extension. For that, need to add some catalog summary here. So I create this PR. Right now, this is the UI. Here I show 3 catalogs from all the catalogs. I have faced some blockers regarding exactly what need in the issue. First, then here we need to show all the catalog by category, and then each category we need to show the count of the category items, catalog items in each categories. There currently we don't have any REST API regarding that. So here we have some blocker. Then second point is already done, and third show 3 catalog in each category. Here also we have the previous blocker. So I show only 3 catalogs from any catalog, first 3 catalog basically. Then the next point is show the we need to add a deep link to the Meshery UI design. There also we have blocker regarding we can't actually locate to the exact design using deep link. Currently not use the deep link. That's the this good.
Any feedback for Senali?
Yeah, I wonder if Pranav, you might have a few things to add to this or highlight.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, have you added the exact same hover effect that we use on our actual catalog? So, or like it's just a static card which doesn't hover, like it doesn't rotate on hover.
Yeah, it's currently rotate on hover. Currently, I don't have the run on the Docker, so we can't. It is exactly same as the Meshery Cloud page.
Okay, and if we click on the catalog, does it take Meshery.io / catalog, or it just
It's
it doesn't open the
redirect.
web browser?
Currently, it's redirect to the playground design page, but we can't redirect to exact design right now. So I redirect it to the design page of the playground.
Hey, let me jump in if I could, and offer up, well, hopefully something that's helpful. So there are enhancements needed in this Meshery Docker extension. This is one of the this is the easiest way to run Meshery locally, is to use the extension. So it's really quite nice. Recently, Amberine enhanced the user interface to help clarify a couple of things. Senali, as you look to enhance it with listings of, well, content from the catalog, we'll need to give some thought as to how to expose the catalog and all that might be in the catalog in, well, what is currently kind of a single page app, a single interface here. It would become a bit unwieldy. So Sonali, I wonder if, this particular issue that you're working on, it was created some time ago, and some things have changed since. And I wonder if we haven't gotten you off on the wrong foot here with this particular request. It's not that it's a bad thing to expose the catalog content directly in the Docker extension. It's quite helpful. People can get to easy to use templates quickly. It's just that you will run into a number of challenges in doing so. You're highlighting a couple of them. Some of the challenges that you've highlighted are easy to overcome, but there will be about 3 times as many challenges that you're going to face after this. And so what I wanted to do is say, wait, hey, before we go through and work through each of these challenges, that suggestion underneath actually that says ad hoc provisioning of Meshery adapters, that's our big issue with the Meshery Docker extension. Folks like Azan and a couple of others had set off to help enhance the extensions so that we didn't have to ship all the adapters. On Azan, this isn't ready, right? That underlying functionality, is that ready for the Meshery Docker extension to use?
I can expose a REST API, like Graph API is already exposed, GrapqHQL API is already exposed. I can expose like a REST API anytime if that's the preferred way of doing this.
Yeah, and I don't know that you have to, like, that's great to know that that's possible. But the existing GraphQL API then that you've recently created, it supports ad hoc provisioning of Meshery adapters for Meshery when it's deployed on Docker, which will always be the case in this particular environment, in the Meshery Docker extension environment. That's the point, is like you're running Meshery as an extension, as containers on Docker. So if you have that, that's actually probably the thing that we should work on first, Sonali, is Well, it is this when people download the extension today, it's like I said, it's the easiest way to run Meshery locally. It's the easiest way. It's a single button click. You install it, and now, but when you click the button to install it, it downloads all of Meshery's adapters, which can take up a little bit of a heavier footprint than most people would desire. It takes a little bit longer to download. Not ever, the overwhelming majority of people that go to use Meshery aren't running more than one service mesh, if even a service mesh. Meshery server itself has a ton of value in terms of what it can offer. And so the ideal user experience is that when people install the Meshery extension, there are no adapters downloaded. There are no adapters provisioned up until the point that someone chooses to provision one. And so that might be what we should turn you on to. Like that might be what we should help you. Like maybe we should save your work and put it into, a PR, put it into a branch. But then, what do you think about shifting to a deployment of adapters instead? Senali, I don't know if all that necessarily made sense, but that's a question for you. Like, would you like to shift focus to work on ad hoc provisioning of Meshery adapters?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
I think we'll have an easier time supporting you as you go to do that. It's certainly a pain point for the extension right now. The extension is too fat, takes too long. It also, we've also, unfortunately misrepresented it maybe, is that when people read the description of the extension, I think it talks a lot about service mesh. And as such, it doesn't get nearly as much use as other tools that are out there. There's another extension that has a visual interface for configuring infrastructure as code. And that tool sees 10 times as many downloads as the Meshery extension does. Even though the Meshery extension has much more capability and a much more sophisticated visual interface, it sees 1/10 of the downloads. A few reasons: probably we're marketing it incorrectly. Two, you have to download like 10 adapters. So it would be nice if if we were able to get to a point where you've reconfigured the Docker file for the Meshery extension to include 0 adapters, that someone can turn on and off the adapters, at least minimally from the Meshery UI settings. They can provision them from there, which I think is the case today for Docker platform, that you can then work with Senali to have provide the ability to turn them on and off from this UI as well. Is that feasible?
Yeah, sure. Like I'll from my side, I'll get right on this. Like I don't think this is a lot of work editing the Docker file to not include the adapters. And since like already provisioning is there, so yeah, just completely doable for myself.
Yeah. Senali, we might have, in this case, we should have mentioned this a little bit earlier as you picked up this issue. Again, it's not that ultimately we wouldn't want to expose the full catalog here. It's just, it's not the point of pain that people are experiencing at the moment. And so, nice. Senali, do you have any questions about what we were talking about with respect to provisioning the adapters?
Right now.
Which means yes, you do. And we have a time check. Actually, we probably have to move on. The provisioning of the adapters, each adapter is just a container. And all you have to do is make a GrapqHQL query to turn one on or off, to provision one or deprovision one. And so Azan can point you in the right direction.
Okay. I think I can proceed further with that.
Nice. But of what you've done here so far, I mean, it's looking pretty. It's looking good. You're on the right track. So, okay, fair enough. We got the time check. So I'll hand it back to Gar.
All right.
Senali will-
Thanks, Senali. So Raj is all set to share. So Raj, you can share your screen and give an update. So, and before that, if everyone got a webcam, don't be shy. Feel free to turn it on. It's nice to talk with face than just voice. Yep, Raj, over to you.
I hope I am audible right now.
Yep, it's much better.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, so I was working on this issue, which is adding a timeout in the cluster ping test. In this, as of right now, I have introduced a new error code, which is 2261 error late cluster response code. Made a new error and raised that error when there's a late response. So set up a context for 5 seconds, and if the response comes later than 5 seconds, then there's an error raised, which is error late cluster response. This is what I have done till now. There's one thing that I'm still to figure out how to do it, which is what Azanul mentioned right here, that I have to figure out where the notification is being sent to the user. And I looked at the code for some time, and I haven't quite been able to figure that out yet. I think I'll try it once more before asking Azanul for help. But yeah, that's it from my side. Uh,
Azan, do you have any comments to offer here?
No, I think like I'll let him have a go at it. Okay. As I said, if he feels that he's unable to do it, then yeah, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll point you in the right direction, like to the right code where you'll understand. Yeah, this is what you need to do.
okay.
Wait, are you saying that? Okay. Why are we saying that this isn't the right code, or that there's more to do? Or
No, there's more to do. Okay, there's a notification part that's left. Raj is trying to track the code to find out where there are
Gotcha.
more notifications being sent. So yeah, for reference.
Oh, nice. Okay. There's another piece of feedback to consider here, and actually Husaina is on the call, and she'll have some reference for this, and that is that Mesheryctl needs to do a very similar task to be able to connect to Kubernetes and interact with Kube API. So we have functions for that in Meshkit. And Meshkit being a shared library between Meshery server and Mesheryctl, there's a set of functions that users interact with when they run Mesheryctl system check or Mesheryctl system check pre-flight. That Mesheryctl uses the functions from Meshkit to interface with Kubernetes. And anytime that you go to run a Mesheryctl command that needs to talk to Kubernetes, that same library gets reused. Meshery server should also be using, and it does in some areas, use the same set of functions. And so if those functions need enhanced, we should do that. But we should make sure that this goes into Meshkit, right? Where we can reuse this and enhance this both for Meshery server, for Mesheryctl. So does anybody else on the call want to give guidance there? Is anybody else familiar with those things? Abdullah or Husaina? So Husaina, you're not familiar with this area then? I take it?
Which one? The sorry,
Yeah.
can you come again? Like,
Okay. Yeah. I'd call out your name before I started to try to make sure that you were kind of tracking, but I'll make a comment on the PR and sort of highlight where an area of potential reuse for the same thing that we do inside of Mesheryctl system check on this PR.
okay, sure. Yeah, I'll take a look later. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Raj, so far what I was saying, does that make sense?
I got it partly. Like we can reuse this code. I got that, and so we might have to include it into Meshkit, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Alternatively, yeah, that's about right. Although I would flip around the phrasing and say, wait, we probably already have this in Meshkit. We probably don't need to rewrite it here. Probably. It might be the case that we don't have it in Meshkit, but that would be shocking. In Meshkit, it may not use the lives interface. And so maybe we can enhance what's in Meshkit to do this. But yeah, just invert the statement. And I think you're good. You're good. By the way, cheers on creating a Meshery error that's well formatted. It is missing the probable cause and suggested remediation. So we definitely want to have those other strings filled in.
Okay.
Can you think of what might be a probable cause for why you would get a late cluster response?
I cannot like pinpoint an exact reason, but there could be various reasons for a late response from a cluster. Like the pinging, while pinging there was something wrong with the connection or something like that. Maybe I could go deeper into that and figure out an exact reason and write that into the string.
Yeah, no, the one that you just said, that's perfect. Yep, that's right. A network issue.
Yeah.
Could be network issue. Could be the Kubernetes cluster is turned off. So there's no network issue, but the cluster is unavailable. Those two things are probably your most prominent probable causes. If you think about what you would have for a suggested remediation for either of the two of those, what do you think that might be?
For a network issue, there could be like you could just retry. And for Kubernetes cluster turned off, I don't think there could be much that could be done from the user side, I guess.
Well,
like
yeah,
there's not options to other than retry, I think.
Yeah, I mean, things that you can give them suggestions of things that they would do outside of Meshery. Like go press the power button on your cluster. There, we should do that.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. That's good. Azan, does that make sense, the feedback? Because that was given?
Yeah, yes, it does. And I think like as you said, like if this functionality does exist in Meshkit already, then I think like we'll have to make that one extendable and then use that one here.
Yep, and it should already be being used in Mesheryctl, and it should already be being used. What is this for, by the way? What we're doing here? This is to ping a cluster to see if it's available. Add a timeout message in there because okay. So this is a follow on to some of the work that you were doing. So I hope that the work that you were doing was in part based on Meshkit stuff. But yeah, when someone, so is this to be invoked when someone clicks the cluster chip in the UI?
Yes, and when we try to connect to it, like when we first upload the config and when we click on the chip.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So there's an existing test that is run for verifying whether or not the Meshery server can talk to Kube API. which means if you're pinging the lives, like, I don't know how this is any, can you scroll down a little bit, Raj?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a time? So you have a 5-second time interval. Great. So, okay. So this is, I mean, there's a couple of things like, Raj, if you're unaware of how it is that the ad hoc connectivity test is being performed, it looks like currently it was being performed on line 336, hitting the lives, and the timeout was just 1, and you've extended it to 5, and then you wait a little while and you make sure, and that your logic makes a ton of sense. You've got a deadline set, and it's looking great. One, I don't know that we should have had this code here in Meshery server in the first place. Maybe it should be in Meshkit, maybe. But yeah, 2, there should be an existing like set of notifications that come back about connectivity to a cluster that hopefully you can, piggyback on. Anyway, maybe we should do a time check. It's like, hey, this is good work. I think you got the logic all correct, and you even did a great first step of having a specific error code specifically for this. And when you tie it off with those additional strings, it'll be super helpful, very insightful for people, because what you're doing is you're saying, hey, look, it's not just that we can't ping it, it's that it's the request has timed out. So that's a little different than a network disconnect, because the network disconnected network, that might happen immediately. You can't speak to it. But in this case, you're speaking to something, just hasn't returned back. So actually, it's a much more specific set of like probable cause and suggested remediation, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, this becomes super helpful. Okay.
All right. Nice update, Raj.
Yeah, thank you. I'll stop sharing my.
Sure. So, Chandravijay, you are up next. Would like to share?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible, Chandravijay.
Give me a second. So I have raised an issue that when we go to the Meshery, can you see my screen?
It's black, all black. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So when we go to the Meshery catalog page, and if we go to the mobile view, and we can scroll down, and if we want to filter it, and we
Chandravijay, I think there's some feedback from your side, and we are just able to see the Meshery meeting minutes if you're sharing something else.
The discussion is related to the website. Chandravijay, I can help you with that. Maybe this is not the right meeting for you to discuss about the website. I'll comment on the GitHub and so that you can work accordingly.
No issue, Chandravijay. You can give your update on Slack and ask committee for the help. So moving on, next we have an item from Freedisch, but he's not on the call. So I'll just quickly share his PR link in chat. If anybody wants to review, they can review.
Hello, Gaurav.
Yeah, Chandravijay.
Sorry for that. Actually, there is a network issue. So
yeah, no issues. Yeah, that happens.
Can you directly open up here?
Chandravijay, we are not able to hear you properly. So you can share your PR link or update in chat or in Slack. So Raj, who was it? Karan stepped up to help you up, so you can ask him for the help. All right. So Freedisch is not on the call. I've shared the link of his PR in chat. Anybody wants to review, they can. So next up is an update on end-to-end test and integration test from Freedisch and Mario. So Mario is on the call. So Mario would like to give an update on this.
Sure.
Great.
Can you guys hear me? Oh, sorry. Yes, you can. I'm not supposed to ask this. Just a sec. Let me start sharing. So I'll assume you guys can see the screen now. Just a minute. Okay, here. So Freedisch and I have been looking at the different failures. So right now we've made the integration test pass, although we're already out of date with the base branch. So I'll merge master onto this, but first I want to fix these remaining problems. So these UI end-to-end test failures are in these user preferences, anonymous usage statistics. So it's the test just seems a bit because I've added retries, so it's not the best practice, but it helps to see how many attempts fail consecutively and see how intermittent this problem is. And so far it seems like, so here's the test. The problem seems to be that we need to add some other weight for a specific request, or hoping it's not a GraphQL subscription, because that's a bit harder to wait for. But we need to wait for the page to be ready, because it's if you look at the test, these 4 tests themselves, they're doing the same thing, except they're kind of like, this is assuming that that radio button is in a specific, like it's activated by default, and this deactivates it, and then this other one activates it back, and then the same for these other 2. So it seems like the page isn't ready because as I said earlier, the 3 attempts or 4 retries that I added temporarily are not helping. So this is how I added them. So yeah, I'll add the specific weight for whatever endpoint needs to be ready, but I need to inspect what requests are being made when the page loads. So that's what I'm about to do right now. I was just taking a look at that. But if you look at the PR, we fixed several problems related to the, just here. So added a specific attribute so that both integration and end-to-end tests can find it, mesh adapter URL. I increased the page load. It's a Cypress config. It seems to help some tests that they just error out because the page didn't load in time. And I even added some utility methods for intercepting specific GraphQL requests because they're all pointing the same endpoint. So I don't know. I remember we tried to do this a while back, but now I just understood better what I had to do, like just assign the specific attribute to that specific like a concatenation, so that this helps do the interceptions more easily when it's a GraphQL request, not when this is a subscription, because that's different ticket, but at least this kind of helps with some of the tests. Oh, and added some timeouts. This doesn't mean that all tests will wait, steps will wait for the 10 seconds, but that's a bigger timeout than the 4-second timeout. So it kind of helps make the test, any test that needs it, more resilience. 30 seconds for this other one. Yeah, here's the interception. This is how the utilities method is used for GraphQL. and so on. Pretty much everything else. Yeah, this is for the inputs. There were like more than one input. No, sorry, not that one. This one. Yeah. So this is a better selector, the right one, data CY, than this one, because it's just a class that multiple inputs can have.
Oof.
And that's it. Any comments or questions?
Yeah. How do we tell Cypress not to run tests until page load is fully complete?
Well, that's already built in. The problem is that there's a specific timeout. I guess it's 60 seconds. So I increased it already. Let me show you where maybe.
So is that timeout for a response? Okay.
No, it's just for initial page load. So when the user visits a page, there's a specific event thrown, like emitted, sorry, so that that's the event, like the original timeout. I can't remember what's the original timeout, but this increases it. The problem there is that, so there are pages that have asynchronous operations. So that event, it gets emitted even though there's more requests being made. So that's when we would add something similar to this one. So this waits for a specific request. So when we build tests, we need to be aware of what conditions are, like what requests need to be resolved or waited for, so that we can proceed and do some checks. So this is more about like learning how to use the tool than a problem with the tool itself in most cases. So yeah. So for example, here we weren't waiting for that. So then this failed intermittently, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But I was lucky enough to have it fail when I looked at the CI run. So then I noticed something was off, and I had to run it locally and then see. It doesn't matter if it doesn't fail, but the Cypress runner, when you run it in open mode, it shows you what requests are being sent by the browser, and then you just notice, okay, it looks like X request has data for which the page cannot do, or the components can't do their job without it. So that's when we need to add these kind of conditions, commands, Cypress commands.
It makes sense.
So we alias it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and yeah,
I'm almost done.
Yeah.
Just these. This is all that is remaining, at least until we have more problems, right? But yeah, I'll make sure these pass, and then I'll merge this request. And yep. Any more comments or questions? Yes.
Yeah. Are these the only ones remaining? Like, are these the only ones failing? Like, is the adapter ping working?
Good question. When we Freedisch and I, when we merge master onto this branch, we would know if there's other problems. The last time I merged this probably was yesterday. So up to yesterday here, I did a master. I've been like fixing it, and then yeah. So basically, when this was merged, there's no date. But yeah, up to yesterday it was working. But any PRs that have emerged from today, yesterday up to today, there might be other problems. As soon as I make this work, I'll just merge this PR, and then we can look at the other problems. What do you ask about the ping test? Is there a specific?
Yeah, that is because I spent 1 weekend trying to fix it. That's why, like,
okay. When did you start working on it? Sorry.
Like a couple weeks ago, I saw that like this was failing, and I thought that this is Abhishek had pointed out that this might be because of the changes that I have done in the UI. So I did look to fix it up. I think you have added a data CY in that page, and they're the exact same. Like if you see changed files in your own PR, I can
Yes, here.
point out like which might have fixed it.
Okay. Yeah, let me show that. So slow. Just a sec. I already clicked this, but it's loading. What's the name of the settings? I'm sorry, of the spec.
I think it's settings spec.
But in the end-to-end, right?
Yeah.
So this one. Okay, so probably the timeout, you mean?
Probably, or could be the, I think like the multi-chip label you added a
This
selector
one.
data CY.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because there's
this one.
more than one input now.
These like in by combination of these things it might be fixed. If it passes, like just tag me. I do want to know how this got fixed.
Okay, maybe we can merge this and I can open a separate PR for the remaining.
Sure.
Would that be better? Like, does everyone agree? Like, for example, if we open this one, like if anyone sees this still failing, that's expected. And I can work in a separate PR and then we can benefit of the fixes. Would that be good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll merge it right now. Any other comments or questions?
Before that, update your branch so that it's still valid. So
of course.
Where is your So integration test should at least be passing with the updated branch as well. Yeah.
And most end-to-end tests except for the one I mentioned.
Yeah.
If you look at this, the results, we can confirm these are the only failures as of the changes with the current prior master batch. Yeah, I'll just update that right now.
All right. Thanks, Mario.
Thank you.
Yep, it was a nice update. So moving on, next we have an update on Meshsync GrapqhQL subscription memory leak from Abhi. So Abhi would like to give an update.
Yeah. So talking about Meshsync, I think this is the PR. I just merged it some time back. So the problem with the current Meshsync channels or the subscriptions is that it is overflowing the client with the data, right? So it just pushes every update in the cluster, and it also pollutes the. It sends all the events to client, which isn't required actually. So there could be many channels that on which the subscription data is sent to, and that would easily overflow the memory that is given to the browser, and ultimately after some time the Meshery, because it is receiving a lot of data for a good time, so it just crashes at some point or gets out of the memory or snaps. So yeah, that's the problem that with this PR we are trying to solve. So first of all, if you are seeing here, so the instance number are the different subscriptions. The instance number is the different channels from which the same data is being sent to. So if you have one client just creates 3 channels, because that's how React loading unloading happens. So somewhere we are whenever we register context, we dispose the previous subscription and enable the new subscriptions. So all those things were creating multiple subscriptions on the client or to the server, but on disposing, like when the client disposes the previous made connections, the server doesn't stops, and it just keeps sending the data. And that you can see it here, like from 1 4 5 6 is the different channels where the data is sent, and which is the same data. So it's kind of pushing a lot of data which isn't required at all. And same thing, if you refresh the browser, so another 3 channels will be created, and everything will be pushed to the client now. So all these problems pile up and create some memory leak in the browser that that ends up in the browser snap or crashing of the browser or memory out of memory problems. So anyways, the PR is doing 2-3 things. First of all, it is it is rate limiting the response. So you might have heard about rate limiting the request from the server, from the client, but it is rate limiting the response. So it is just responding with the most recent update that is done in the resource that we are subscribed to that particular time frame. So currently the time frame is 5 seconds. So in 5 seconds, I mean, you could receive any number of data, but in those pile of data, we are filtering that data and combining the related data and then getting like what's the most recent activity on this particular resource or data, and that most recent activity is being sent to the client instead of all the data as raw. So yeah, that's what been happening here. Other thing is the subscription problem where the previous subscriptions are not flushed. So whenever a subscription ends up, like whenever the subscription is flushed by the client, so there is a context done. So every function has, every Meshsync subscription comes with the context. So context, what it says, like it tells you about the context under which this function is running. So subscribe Meshsync client is calling the listen to Meshsync subscription function, which instead listen to net subscription. So all these are combined, or all these are grouped within the same context. And when the context is set to done, in case the subscription is flushed, so we don't do anything when the subscription is flushed. So right now, whenever context is done, whenever this function has done its job and it is bound to stop, or it is meant to be stopped, so I'm just creating a new Boolean tag which says like the subscription is flushed and you shouldn't be sending anything more on this channel. Better option would be just to close the parent channel, but it was showing some panic error. So that's why I couldn't figure it out, and that's what I have put in the reviewers. Yeah, the reviewers what notes for reviewers section. But anyways, it's working for now. But yeah, that's how I mean that was overall thinking and the solution to the problem, that we are now sending rate limited data without any duplicates. And yes, okay. Do I have any question up until this point? If not, like I'll just describe the last thing, which is multi-column indexing. So after that, yeah, do we have any question? So I hope not. Okay, so the deduplicating logic is written here. So there is a process map which is synchronous map interface. So what it does is that it creates a key by accumulating 4 different columns. What first is the Meshsync type, the data type. It could be added, deleted, anything like that. And then Meshsync event object and context ID, and some resource UIDs that is coming directly from the Kubernetes. So all these 4 columns create one unique index that acts as a key to the process map. So whenever there is the same event on the same resource for the same type and with the same purpose happens, and it happens multiple times, only one and one of that thing is registered and is sent to the client. So that drastically improves the amount of data that is being sent on the wire. And yeah, that stops from choking the final pipe in the connection between client and the server. Okay, that was it.
I have a question here. So if we are getting data, like let's say that I change the config map 2 times, like quickly, really quickly. So is one of those changes going to be dropped?
You're saying you changed, so both of these events will be modified events, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so both of these events will be modified, and you are changing the same config map. So they will all have the same object UID. The meta and the context ID, I mean, the config map would be on the same context, right? And it is config map, that's why it is same. So all these, yeah. So out of those two, on the recent change that you have made on the config map will be given to the client, and the last one, won't be. because that's a terminal state. So your UI has to just know about the terminal state of that config map. It doesn't care like how you get to the terminal state. That's the that's not its not.
So the current thing is like it's going to buffer the request to a for a certain period of time, and it's going to send the latest ones according to what exactly? It's going to send the latest ones to the client.
I mean, according to like, first of all, this is totally event based. So whenever an event occurs, so the first, there is a throttling duration of 5 seconds. So based on like what you changed in the, in your cluster, it will send it with the rate limit of 5 seconds. So once it gets it, so it will wait for another 5 seconds if there is some new thing that you will be adding. And if not, like it will send it. Or if you do, like it will send it as well. So
it's important to note then that things like the visualizer will be delayed by 5 seconds perpetually.
Visualizer, the subscription, this is just, we are talking about just the subscription right now. Whenever you ask for a query, I mean, whenever you say like, get me all the pods, so you click on the pod. So that's not a subscription, but that's a query. So query is returned as is, like it doesn't wait for, I mean, that this function is not applied on that thing. So, but if there is an automatic discovery, so yeah, it may be delayed for 5 seconds, but that's not a very high time or something.
Hopefully you know what that is. What is the visualizer using?
It asks, we ask for query. First of all, it does mix of both. There is an automatic discovery and there is a discovery on query. So you ask for the namespace in one of the cluster. So the query is sent instead of description subscription. So that the query, it would be returned immediately. Then that's that's what I.
Yeah, makes sense. So my statement still stands unless there's unless what you're changing here doesn't affect the GraphQL plugin used for mesh map. Then the statement still stands that it would be a 5-second delay for all subsequent updates.
Yeah, it may be true that it's not changing any GraphQL for visualizer because that's in a different repository. So,
or it's a different set of subscriptions. So yeah, just something to verify.
Yeah, that
what
needs
does
verification.
What does rate limit mean in this context?
Rate limiting means the rate of events that is sent back to the client.
Yeah. Is this more? Okay. This is more maybe batching though than.
Yeah, batching could be used. Throttling, batching, rate limiting, like any of these terms could be used.
So it's not rate limiting the number of. Well, yeah. So if there are 1,000 events, this will limit to how many? Like, is it configurable?
If it is 1,000 events and all the thousands are distinct, like all the thousands will be sent without any rate limiting. But if there are thousands events and out of thousands, 500 are just duplicate and just the same thing happening again and again in response to any event inside the cluster, so it would be rate limited to half. So based on like
so it deduplicates the events.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Cool.
So
thank you.
Thanks, Abhi. Cool. So next up we have Karan. So Karan would like to give an update.
Yeah, sure. My screen has become unresponsive. I'll stop sharing. Gaurav, could you please share the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just click on the latest preview. There. Yep, so my PR deals with the new blog, which explain on how you can change your Meshery release channels. So Meshery project has two channels, that is Edge and the stable one. Edge being the one which reflects every change that happens on the whenever you click on the merge button, and stable being the channel with the releases with the release tag. So this blog covers on how you can change your channels with the help of editing your mesh config file and by changing with the help of Mesheryctl. The first step is the Meshery config. You just have to it covers all the steps on how you can change the channel by going to the Meshery directory and then changing the release channel. What was the the channel one to stable or edge, and the second one deals with the help of Mesheryctl. So if you type Mesheryctl channel view, then you will be able to see the current one. And then if you use the Mesheryctl channel set with the option of stable version and edge, you can change your channel and also to a desired version number. You have to replace the version with the desired version number, and the Mesheryctl will be pointing it to that specific one. And then to confirm the changes, you can just type again the channel view, and then your result will be displayed. So yep, the blog covers all the necessary parts. I tried to keep it all concise and short. Any reviews on that? Anything more I have to add?
Yeah, there are a couple of feedback from Lee regarding the styles in chat. So you can follow up on there.
Yeah, another thing you might find, Karan, is that you're able to do like a follow-up blog post on a very related set of concerns inside of Mesheryctl. This one here, as it describes release channels, that's fantastic, and you're hitting the core use case of kind of why they're there, so that people can get at newer features earlier, or and risk maybe a bug or two, or hang back on stable channel. And there's so something that you might write a different blog post on might be about, well, the fact that mesh can, like, well, why do you, the rest of the contexts itself. In here, you describe that you can go potentially directly up and edit your mesh config. One, you could maybe increase the length of this post potentially by explaining what a mesh config is and what its purpose is. And maybe you did, I didn't read the whole thing, but and then you could potentially have a different blog post that talks about why it is that there is such a thing as contexts and how those are used, how Mesheryctl helps you manage multiple Meshery deployments. And so those two things would parlay nicely with each other. You'd kind of get the blog post tying into each other as a series. Something else that you might not have had an opportunity to highlight within this blog post, well, is the notion of a subscription, or the notion that a release channel carries a concept of a subscription. Does that ring a bell? If it, yeah.
Actually, I'm not aware of that, to be honest. I have to do a little more research on that.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, that's a great subject to include then. So kind of and how you can pin to a specific version. So when you get into that subscription topic and you grok that a little bit more and you describe it, you would also then want to describe how you can pin to a specific version.
I can add an example for that. that will be explained.
Nice. Great.
All right. Thanks, Karan. Yeah, it's a great blog. And since we are covering blogs, so we definitely need more and more blogs and resource articles. So if anyone in the Zoom meeting is who wants to participate in this writings program, and they can share blogs, share resource articles. So, yep. Thanks, Karan. So we are 3 minutes over, and we missed couple of items today. So we'll be definitely covering all these items in the next call in priority. So with that, I think we are good to wrap today's call. So thank you all for joining today's Meshery development meeting. Make sure you subscribe to the Layer 5's community calendar so you don't miss out any of the meetings. And if you got any kind of questions, feel free to post it on Discuss forum. And you can catch the live stream of this meeting on Layer 5 YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. So with that, let's end this call. So thank you all for joining. We'll meet next week, same time, same place.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.